President Trump is taking new measures to hurt Harvard in his escalating battle with the university. In a letter issued yesterday, the Trump administration asks all federal agencies to find ways to end their contracts with Harvard. An administration official confirmed to NBC News roughly 30 contracts totaling an estimated $100 million will be under review. Joining us now, professor at the Harvard Kennedy School and the Harvard Business School, Arthur C. Brooks. He teaches courses on leadership and happiness and also hosts the How to Build a Happy Life podcast. Arthur, good morning. Always good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
We're covering some light topics in the break, like the meaning of life.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get to that in just a second. Let's talk about what's going on at Harvard. What is the feeling on campus about all that's gone on lately, but especially this recent news about the cancellation of federal contracts?
There's a lot of alarm, of course, because the collateral damage to what the administration is doing is reaching way beyond the issues of anti-Semitism. You know, labs are closing, people are being laid off, foreign students don't know if they can even enroll, and that's way beyond what anybody expected. Now, we have a very good administration at Harvard right now. We have a great president, Alan Garber, and he's a sensible guy, and this is going to come to some resolution. It's not going to be the zombie apocalypse, but in the meantime, there's a lot of damage that's actually going on right now, and it's creating a lot of fear.
Has the school changed in the last year since there's been this pressure, even before the Trump administration, but based on what was going on in campus last year and now this added pressure from the Trump administration? Is it a different place now?
Yeah, it sort of is. I mean, the truth of the matter is over the last 10 years that activism has been rising and rising, and it came to a head on October 7th in 2023. And the result of that is that a lot of people saw something that they didn't like about what was going on, including a lot of people inside the university. And that is leading to change. And this is how change always happens in organizations. It builds and builds and builds until something happens, and then you get an event that leads to some sort of positive measures. And that's what we're seeing. I think things are better now than they were before. And I don't like what the administration is doing, but I trust our administration at the university, and I think that they're going to come to some sort of a resolution on this. And one way or the other, things are going to get better. Look, there was way too much activism on campuses all over the United States. The misery that was college campuses had to do with the fact that it was all activism and not enough intellectual inquiry. You go to college to have your ideas challenged, to have your mind open, to fall in love. That's what you're doing. That's what you did at Vanderbilt, right?
I did.
And that was sort of the point, and you're a happier person for it, right?
Yeah.
That's what we need to get back to, and I think that that's actually where we're going to wind up. I am very hopeful that despite the fact that things are painful right now, that there's a better future ahead of us.
Joe?
Wow.
So, Arthur, I'm deeply concerned about two things can be true at once. As we always say, I'm deeply concerned about what's happening not only at Harvard, but also at other institutions of higher learning. And I will say at the same time, the reason maybe why there's not more of an uproar, and I've said this on the show for the past 5 years, every time we have parents of college students over for dinner at our house, friends of ours who have children in college, what they've been telling us for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years is their children. Nobody wants to hear this on college campuses. College administrators don't want to hear it. Their children are afraid to raise their hand and have the type of talk, the communication, the back and forth that you were just talking about.
Yep.
The great thing is, when you and I were in college, you could say something extraordinarily stupid.
Right.
You could say, well, what about this? And then the college professor would explain, you would have this discussion, it would be a great learning process. Now people are frozen in their seats. Right. That's one. Part two of it is, outside of a sort of elite bubbles, you know, for 30, 40, 50 years, if you are a conservative, if you're a moderate conservative, if you went to a good college, I'm sorry, it's just the truth. People watching may not want to hear it. You don't have conservative professors, certainly not in the arts and sciences. I never had one at Southern State schools 35 years ago. So talk about, we're deeply disturbed by what the Trump administration is doing. At the same time, is this a learning moment, as they say, for elite institutions to open up ideologically intellectually and not just be center left to far left.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole point of this is not just to get through the crisis. The whole point is to actually see it as an opportunity for change, for growth. That's what we should all do in our lives, and every organization should do. When you have a bad crisis, when you have a big problem, you say, what's the opportunity for us to actually improve? That's how universities need to think. And you're exactly correct. Look, I'm a conservative. I've been a political conservative my whole career. I ran the American Enterprise Institute, for Pete's sake, and they've been very good to me at Harvard. They've been very open to me at Harvard. But the truth of the matter is we need more people that actually think differently than the masses. We need more people than just sort of 20-to-1 liberals to conservatives, and we need to be on top of that and see this as an opportunity to get more ideological balance. Why? Not because we believe that you have to go 1-to-1 in fairness. None of that. We don't need affirmative action for conservatives, but because when your liberal ideas on campus are not challenged, your education is mediocre, and that's just not right.
But let's talk about the impact.
I just want to say, can I jump in there, Lemire? And I'm so sorry for the delay here. I will say, and I said it after John Roberts' confirmation process. Afterwards, everybody said, "Oh my God, Roberts, he was so great on his feet. How are conservatives? How did this happen? Like a conservative?" And Grover Norquist said, Jonathan Lemire, that he said, because if you were a conservative at Harvard Law School, anytime you opened your mouth, you better have thought through it about 20 different times because you were going to get crushed. Whereas, and here's the important point, now we talk about why the left may be adrift and at loss. The other side of that is the intellectual laziness that occurs every time you open your mouth, and they all agree with you. Yeah. And you're part of groupthink. So you never have to defend your ideas. So when you go out and run a campaign and you think everybody's going to agree with you, it's just the opposite. You never had to be on your toes before intellectually, and now you do, and you lose elections because of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Of course it's valuable to have a diverse set of viewpoints, to have your ideas challenged, tested, to not just be in an echo chamber. We see that in the media as well. But let's talk about some of the other real-world implications of what the Trump administration is doing. And maybe there will be some good down the road for a diversity of opinion, but trying to block foreign students from coming, that's damaging because those students are going to go somewhere else. And then combine that with the idea of cutting research grants and funding. Harvard and institutions like Harvard are at the tip of the spear in terms of really driving what makes America, the place for innovation, the place for entrepreneurship. There's a real risk of brain drain here. Those talents are going to go elsewhere.
Yeah, no, that's true. Actually, it's more true down the line for institutions that aren't Harvard. Harvard is sort of the Vatican of higher ed, and its brand is going to be just fine, and it will reassemble. There's damage going on right now, but in the long term, Harvard's going to be okay. What I worry about is that these policies are going to drain people from other universities that can't recover as well. You're correct that barring admission to foreign students is a really foolish thing to do. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I want as many smart foreigners coming to the United States. I want to take away their passports. I want to keep them here. That's what we really want. That's the essence of entrepreneurship in this country, is really high-skilled, motivated people that are coming from all over the world and making America truly great. And that starts at the university level. Second is that the science that's going on has nothing to do with DEI, had nothing to do with the anti-Semitism on campuses, and that's collateral damage that we should be trying to avoid. It's really, really overreaching. It's Joe's point. Joe's point is you can think two things at the same time. This is bad what's happening, but at the same time, we got to look at what the opportunity for growth actually is. When you shake the box like this, how are you going to be a better university coming out of it? And I think that we actually will be. I'm looking forward to people thinking twice before saying, let's get rid of the people who think differently than we do, canceling people with unusual points of view. They'll think twice about it because exactly what's going on right now. And you know, I don't like what's happening, but maybe the result will be somewhat positive.
The box certainly is being shaken. Let's talk about what the business you've made, which is such an important one, of talking about happiness.
Yeah, that's what I teach at the Harvard Business School.
It's what you teach. Yeah, it's your
exactly
podcast,
right.
It's everything. And your latest piece is Why Are Young People Everywhere So Unhappy? This is published in The Atlantic. Boy, it's something that consumes the thoughts of parents everywhere, families everywhere. What did you find in researching this piece?
Well, the United States in the World Happiness Index we've been falling for the last few years. I don't actually put any credence behind comparing countries in terms of happiness. I'm going to go to Finland next week, and they're really proud of us coming out #1 on these types of things. But the truth is, people in different countries answer happiness questions in different ways. So you can't really compare countries. But you can compare countries over time. The United States has not been going in the right direction. Happiness has been falling. Almost all of the decline in happiness in the United States is coming because people under 30 are miserable. I mean, not entirely. There are people listening to us under 30 who are pretty happy. That's great. But the truth of the matter is that all of the trends are in the wrong direction for young adults today. That's what I'm studying right now. That's my big area of research. There's a lot of explanations for this. You know, the baby boomers wrecked the world. That's one. Or that young people are too entitled. That's all nonsense. Those are not good explanations. The best explanation that I can possibly find for this is that happiness is declining because people under 30 are unable to answer the question, what is the meaning of my life? Which sounds like the biggest, most philosophical question in the world. But it turns out that neurobiologically, we answer questions of meaning when we do certain things that young adults have stopped doing, like falling in love, like worshiping in your faith, like actually finding a calling in your work, like being out in nature and getting beauty, like understanding that your suffering is a sacred thing and not something to eliminate. Those are the complex parts of life that will find meaning, and that's what we've been wiping out.
Arthur, how much of this has to do with the phone? How much of it is social media? How much of it is kids being lost and thinking this is meaning in the phone, the thing I'm occupying myself with all day?
A lot of it is the phone. The phone is not the cause, it's a self-soothing device. So when people can't find meaning, they self-soothe with the devices. That puts them into a doom loop. And in the doom loop, things actually get worse. It's kind of like alcohol. When you're bored and lonely, you drink more. When you drink more, you get more bored and more lonely, and then you drink more, and down you go. That's the role that technology is playing in this problem.
Well, I mean, you look also, Arthur, you look at the fact that, again, you know, you could be driving with not only kids, you're going to be driving with anybody. You could be driving through the most extraordinary landscape anywhere with the most stunning sunset. And you have to tell other people in the car, hey, look up. Look, that's something you're not going to see again. So we talk about phones, but also let's talk about faith as well. We've heard for some time that younger men are falling further and further behind in so many categories. And yet I saw last week that actually younger men are actually leading sort of the movement back to church. The pews in Western countries emptying over the past generation. Now it may be, and I think this is a sign of hope from my worldview, that younger men may be going back into church, filling those pews, and not only pursuing their faith, but something that I saw growing up in a Baptist church, also rounding off the sharp edges, the wacko conspiracy theories. I'm just saying, talking about my experience. You know, you're around 30, 40 people in Sunday school. You say, hey, I heard that such and such, you know, it's the socialization. People not being alone. Talk about the importance of that for happiness.
It's incredibly important. And my column on Thursday in The Atlantic is a happiness agenda for Pope Leo XIII.